Hi, this is Mr. Wilsey, and in this video I wanted to show you some resources that are available to my Algebra 1 students as well as parents of those students. So first of all, let me bring up my iPad screen here. This is the homepage of the STEM Academy. Hopefully you know how to log in at the bottom left here. Students should know how to log in as well as parents. Now, in order to get access to your students' grades, you should be able to go to Reports and then Online Grades, and then you'll see the grades for each of your students' classes. Obviously, I see something a little bit different than you do since I have a teacher account. Now, something else, if you go to the students' Fusion pages and then find their Algebra 1 class, I've got a couple different classes here. I'm just going to click on one as an example. So if you go to the class page for your students' Algebra 1, you'll notice in the bottom right corner here, there's something called the Master Calendar. Now, this one link right here, if we open it, it gives you everything you need to know about what your student is doing in class. Your students should already be very familiar with navigating this page here. I try to keep it up to date and as well organized as possible. Now, the only thing that we really need to focus on, usually down here, is whatever is inside the red box. This is what the student needs to pay attention to for the upcoming class period. Now, all of the work that I hold students accountable for doing outside of class will be in this left column here under Homework Due. Usually what will be here will be videos. So for example, this video right here is the homework that I expect students to get done before the next class period, which in this case is Tuesday, October 1st. In this video, if you click on the link, it will open up a YouTube video in which I get the students started working on the content that we're going to be practicing in class. Now, sometimes I'll have students do other kinds of work instead of just watching videos. Sometimes I might have them continue working on an assignment that we started in class. And if your student is in Honors Algebra 1, I sometimes might have work that is specifically for honor students here because I expect more out of my honor students. Now, in this column, usually you'll see practice problem sets or pop quizzes that I expect students to work on inside of class. Now, a lot of the work that I expect students to do in class, I will look at it and I might even give a score on it, but it won't count towards the student's grade. So for example, this next class period, I'm going to expect students to do this little mini quiz to demonstrate to me that they've actually watched the video for homework. So I will score the student's work on this quiz, and I will input that score into gradebook, but that score will not count toward the student's grade because this is what I call a formative assessment. It is just a tool for me and for the student and for you, parents, to see how your student is progressing toward mastering this topic of inequalities. In the next week or two, the student will take an in-class quiz that will contribute to the student's grade. And those quizzes will always be in red text like this. So for example, last class period we took a quiz that will count toward the student's grade on conversion factors and solving proportions. Now, if your student is ever absent from class, they should immediately go to the master calendar and look at the in-class work for the day they missed, because that will have everything that we did in class. And the student should do all of that work in order to get caught back up. A lot of times I will also post my answer keys to assignments. You'll notice in this case the answer key is handwritten because I feel that looking at my answer keys, I think that's a great way for the students to see how the work should be laid out correctly in order to communicate the student's understanding fully. Now at the top here, this is the syllabus for my class. You can read through this if you want. One thing I wanted to point out though is how I do grades right here. So the majority of the student's grade will come from the end of course exam, which the student will take in May. That's 25% of the student's grade. The midterm exam in that red slice, that is 10% of the student's grade. Students will take that in December, so halfway through the school year. The majority of the student's grade comes from quizzes, and then finally there's another portion called design problems, which is mostly group work on more challenging real-world authentic problems. We don't have any design problems in the gradebook yet, but we will here within the next month or so. Now let me just show you a quick example of what a grade report might look like. Now, this is the way that I see the students' grades. The way that you see them might look a little bit different. Now, at this point in the year, there's only been two categories of assignments that I've graded so far: in-class work and quizzes. Now, in-class work, all of these assignments, I score them and I give feedback to the students on a one-to-one basis, but these assignments do not count toward the student's course average, this number up here. However, the purpose of these assignments that don't contribute to the student's grade is that they help you keep track of the student's progress toward mastering these objectives down here, which do contribute to the student's grade. And all of these assignments that do contribute to the student's grade are called quizzes. That's the category that they all fall under. Now, if your student, or if you, are unhappy with a certain grade that the student got on one of these graded assignments, one of the quizzes, so for example, this student here didn't do so well on the first objective, number 1, order of operations, the student can schedule to retake this single objective with me. Now, it's kind of hard to find some times that work for me, but at this point in the year, the two times that work best for me for scheduling retakes of objectives would be L-day mornings in room 207. This year, all of my students have Algebra 1 on L-day, so you can think of L-day as being your algebra day. And the time for this would be 9 o'clock a.m. So I will always be in room 207 in the morning of L-days at 9 o'clock a.m. And if the student just shoots me an email ahead of time, making sure that I'll be there and just telling me what objectives they want to retake, the student can do that. And the other time that works good for me would be Monday or Friday advisory in room D120. Now, in order to come to my advisory on Monday or Friday, the student would need to email their own advisory teacher and also email me in that same email and ask for permission to come to my advisory in order to do their retake. Now, let me just bring back the master calendar again. Right here, this link right here is a very important link. If we click on it, on the left here, I have videos in which I work out all the problems from the original quiz. And this is meant to be remediation for the student. In case there's an objective that a student didn't do very well on, they can watch these videos in which I work out the original problems and they can see how it's done correctly. If the student would rather not watch videos but would rather kind of read at their own pace, on the right here I always have resources, written resources, that help the student build up their understanding of the concepts in the quiz. So this is just an alternate resource for the student. Now, either case, whether they watch the videos or whether they read these materials, the student needs to take notes. The student needs to show me some work, some evidence that they actually studied for their retake. Because a lot of students, after they get a bad grade on an objective, they'll think in their heads, oh, I knew where I went wrong. Silly me, I'll just go in and retake it and it'll be done. No, the student needs to take notes on one of these two resources and provide evidence to me that they actually studied. Another important thing to notice here is that I have very strict deadlines on when the student can retake these objectives. For example, the very first 4 objectives, the deadline for retaking those will be in early October. And then the deadlines for all of the other objectives might be later on in the year. Now finally, one last thing I wanted to show you here is the Algebra 1 learning objectives. So if you tap on that link, you will see a list of what all of the different objectives in the gradebook mean. So for example, solving equations here, objective number 5, the student would have gotten proficient if they could just demonstrate that they knew how to solve linear equations. Now proficient is a very specific word. That means getting an 80%. So up here, proficient in my definition means C-level work, 80% of the possible points. In other words, the student has demonstrated enough mastery of the skill to move on, but the student may still retake the objective if they wish. Now, for that objective, in order to get full credit, so in other words, to be called advanced and to get 100% of the points, the student has to show me that they can solve linear equations involving more than 3 steps, write, solve, and evaluate literal equations, and write and solve linear equations from contextual situations and interpret the viability of the solutions. So obviously, in order to get full credit, the student has to show me a lot more than just if they wanted to be called proficient and get a C. Now, something else to notice here is that the lowest grade that I will ever assign in this class is a 50%. Sometimes you might see 40% if the objective is only worth 5 points. But 50% is the lowest that a student can go. This means the student has demonstrated virtually no elements of the skill, and the student must retake that objective. I will also assign 0% as a grade if the student just simply did not even try on a certain objective, if they left it completely blank, or if they did not turn in an assignment at all. That would be a 0. Otherwise, if they just put down something on the paper, that starts at a 50%. Alright, so I hope that this video was helpful to you in kind of explaining some of my policies as far as grading and retaking goes. Again, retaking season is open. I want to see students more often in room 207, L-Day mornings, and also on Monday and Friday advisory. Okay, come, retake objectives, and improve your grade. Now, you don't get very many opportunities to actually retake quizzes that you didn't do so well on in other classes, so use it to your advantage in this Algebra 1 class so that we can help make you as prepared as we possibly can for your future math classes.